Hello, my name is Richard van Roost and welcome to another Blender cookie tutorial. In this quick tutorial I want to show you how to turn your logo into smoke and disintegrate it. So it's going to be a pretty simple tutorial, but I got a request on how to do something with a logo and smoke, so I came up with this idea and I think it's pretty cool. So let's just do it. I'm not going to use an existing logo for this tutorial. I'm going to just use the simple Blender text, but you can apply this technique to any logo you might have. So I'm going to use the default cube and rename it to domain, because this is going to be the smoke domain. And let's scale it up like 3 times and move it up in the Z direction 3 Blender units as well. And then I'm going to turn it into a smoke domain, which will make it a wireframe. Even if you are in solid view, it's a wireframe, which is pretty useful. So you can see the smoke. Okay. So this is the smoke domain. This is where the smoke is being simulated. It cannot go outside. So you have to keep that in mind. So if your logo is bigger than the domain, it doesn't work too well. Okay, so let's add the logo now. I'm going to just add some simple text. So there we have it, the text. And let's go into the text properties. I want to make it... let's first edit the text. Let's call this, let's say we have a company called Smoky. And yeah, so tab means you can edit the text, and I'm tapping out of edit mode. So now we can do something with this text, because now you can see it's flat and there's no real volume. So first of all, I'm going to center it and I'm going to rotate it around the Z, around the X axis 90 degrees. So now it stands right up, and let's move it up a little bit. And let's see what. Okay, yeah, the smoke text is flat, so we have to add some depth to this. So I'm going to extrude it, say 0.04. That works pretty well. Okay. So what we now have so far is just a domain and some text. And now I want to apply smoke to this text. So let's select it and see what we can do. We don't have the option in the physics panel. We don't have the option for smoke. So we need to convert this to real geometry, like a real mesh. So to do that, you can press Alt-C and use the second option, mesh from curve, meta, surf, or text. So we're converting this text into a mesh. So now if I tab into edit mode, I'm not able to edit the text anymore. You can see we have real geometry and it looks really nasty. And Blender actually doesn't do a really clean job on this, but we can still use it. Before I want to go ahead and use it, I want to remove some of the double vertices. So I'm going to select all of them and remove doubles. And as you can see, we removed more than 900 vertices. So that's cool. Now I want to make sure the normals are consistent. So let's press Ctrl N to make the normals pointing outwards. So yeah, that's all. And now we can apply smoke. Let's try. Click on smoke and select flow, because this flow is actually the smoke source. So now the source is set to mesh, and if we press Alt-A, we can see what happens. As you can see, we have a lot of smoke, but it doesn't really look like the logo. What I want to do is I don't want to render the logo at all. I just want to render the smoke with the shape of the logo. So to do this, we need obviously a lot more resolution, and we can do this inside the domain. The domain settings, we can set the resolution, the divisions up to like 150. And what I also like to do is use the adaptive domain. This means the smoke is only being simulated inside an adaptive domain, inside the main domain we have, which means it's going a lot faster. So yeah, that's cool. I do want to use smoke higher resolution, but not for now. To speed up the simulation, I'm gonna not enable this for now. So let's see what we have now. When you press Alt-A, it will run, but it doesn't simulate. So because you have to go back to the first frame with Shift left arrow, you will go back to the first frame. And now, when I press Alt-A, it will start simulating again. And still, it doesn't really look like what I want. And the reason is, when you use the mesh as a smoke source, it doesn't work too well, in my opinion, because it has this outline. It's way wider than the logo itself. So what I like to do is use a particle system. So let's select the text, and instead of the mesh, I want to use a particle system. But right now, we don't have any particle systems, so let's create one. So let's yeah, go into particles and create a new particle system. I'm going to call it smoke. And now go into the wireframe view, to front view, and you can see we have some particles. We need a lot more than this, but yeah, to start, I'm gonna set the end frame to 1. So we have particles from the beginning, and they don't they're not added as we move in time. So they're already there. I want to set the lifetime to 5 frames. So they only emit for the first 5 frames of the animation, and then the smoke just is there, and no smoke is being added. So you have 5 frames. Alright. If we increase the number, you can see, let's say 4,000. You can see we have a problem with density. First of all, I want to change the emit from setting to volume, because we need the whole text as a volume where the smoke is being emitted. So now the particles will be emitted from the volume, but still the distribution is way off. And if you go back to edit mode with tab, you can see the relation. There's where there's a lot of geometry, you can see there's a lot of particles. So to solve this, you can set the distribution to random, which will make it way better. I mean, better distributed in this case. So this now it doesn't care about the geometry. It just randomly places vertices, particles inside the geometry. Okay, cool. So now we have this, and if I run the simulation, you can see the particles are moving, and we actually don't need any movement at all. So what I'm going to do is turn off physics. And what this will do is just make those particles stay there and emit smoke. Alright, so now one final thing in the render tab. I don't render the emitter, and I actually don't want to render any particles. I do want to display them, just to see that they're there and to know that we have particles. So now we have particles, so let's see if this works. I have to choose the particle system. You can have multiple. I'm going to choose smoke, and here we have the set size, and this is an interesting setting. Is the size of the smoke that's being emitted by each particle. The size is in voxels. So let's say we have a really high resolution and the voxel size is this square, then one particle will emit one cube with this size of smoke. So that's what this set size does. So if you may see the smoke is too wide around your logo, you can set this to a lower number, say 0.75. But if you see holes in your logo, you may want to set it higher. And what I forgot to do was increase the number of particles. I actually want to say 50,000 particles. It may seem like a lot, but it's all black of particles. It may seem like a lot, but it's yeah, I think it works better, especially when you increase the resolution of your simulation. Right here, I think 150 for now is fine. So yeah, let's see what happens. All right. Now, in the beginning, you could really read Smokey from the smoke. When you would hide the text, let's hide the text. You can really read this, which is pretty cool, and it just, yeah, it's smoke, so it flies up in the air, which is pretty cool. But I really want a different effect here. So what I want to do is look at this smoke. It's immediately starts rising, and the reason for this is the forces that act on smoke is mostly temperature. Like when smoke is hot, the density will be less than air, so it will rise. So to keep the smoke from rising so fast, we can just simply go into the text and set the temperature difference to a really low number, or even 0. I like to use 0.05. And when we now go back to the first frame with shift left arrow and press Alt A, we can see the smoke just stays there, and it's moving a little bit, but it stays there for the most part. So that's cool. It's a little boring though, but a really cool thing I like is a fast moving force field, which just messes up the whole logo and basically disintegrate it with a very cool effect. So let's do that. I'm gonna press Shift C because my cursor is not in the center anymore. Now it is, and I'm gonna add a force field, a turbulence. So this just creates kind of a random force in space. I want to limit this force effect to a little sphere around this empty. So to do that, you can use maximum and set this to 1, for example. And now everything outside is not affected by the force field. It's only inside this sphere. And I'm going to set the power fall off to 1. And this means like the force on the edge is almost 0, and in the middle it's higher. So the effect is much stronger in the middle. Okay, so let's move this thing up here, like over here, and insert. First, I want to start disintegrating the smoke on, say, frame 15. So let's insert a location and rotation keyframe on frame 15. And now, let's say make it move in 15 frames, so frame 30, it will be here. Alright, so let's add another keyframe. But first, I want to add some random rotation. Let's press R twice to go into a different rotation mode. As you can see, I want to add some different rotation because then the effect is even more randomized. When you rotate the empty, the noise is rotating with it. So that's a pretty cool effect. And you can actually turn this off by checking global, but I really like it. So now I can move the force field with the empty. Okay, so let's insert a location rotation keyframe, and now let's move somewhere in the middle and move this up so it makes a curve, and add some more random rotation. Why not? Okay, and now insert the final location rotation keyframe. Okay, let's see what we have. We have a crazy turbulence force field moving through the smoke. Okay, to make this have an effect, you need to add some flow force, like 10, and this will convert the force into an airflow, which you will need to be able to move the smoke. And now the strength is really low. It's going so fast that we need a really high strength, like something like 600. A really aggressive force that moves really quickly. And because it's just here for such a small time, it needs this really high force. Okay, so now let's see what we got. Shift left arrow and Alt A to get the smoke. Alright. Looking pretty cool, huh? Yeah, I think this is a pretty cool effect. Okay, cool. Let's move on and try to render this. So let's take the camera, and actually I want to just simply lock the view, or lock the camera to the view, and let's move this. So, like this. Okay. And now if we render, of course, you can't see anything. Oh, you do see. Oh, that's the adaptive domain. That's interesting. Anyway, you need to apply a proper material to this cube to be able to view the smoke. And you probably already know this, but I'm going to do it real quick. So instead of a surface, we're going to use volume, and the settings are fine. Let's go into the textures, and it's already having a texture. Let's rename this to smoke, and the type of this smoke texture is voxel data. We have to set a domain object, which is the domain, of course. Now we can see the smoke. Okay, now we don't have emission. I don't want any emission, so I only want to influence the density of the smoke, and I want to multiply. Alright, so when the density is 0, right here, it multiplies with 0 and makes the density 0. It just makes the cube invisible over here. So let's try to render this. It's probably not working. No. Okay. Well, it is working, but not as we like, and that's because we're using an adaptive domain. So now we have to map to bounds, which I think the bounds are this adaptive domain, and we have to map the whole smoke texture to this adaptive domain, because it doesn't simulate anything outside of this domain. So when map to bounds is checked, we should see some smoke, and it's really not that visible because the background of the world is gray. So let's use blend sky and make this really dark. Alright, there we go. It's not looking too pretty, and that's because we have a really rough texture, a really rough material. So let's do something about it with in the integration tab. The step size is pretty high. I think 0.2 is pretty high, so let's set it to 0.05. And now the render looks much cleaner. Okay. Say one final thing I want to teach you guys is how to add color to your smoke. Well, it's not too hard to add color. You can make it blue, for example, with the reflection color, and it will be blue. But some logos have different colors. Let me reset this color. Some logos have multiple colors. So how would you do this? Well, it's possible. I'm gonna enable my text again and select it and say, let's step into edit mode and say we want the M to be a different color. So let's press L to select only this M, and press P to separate out of this object. So now we have two objects, the M and the rest of the text. Okay, so the M has another particle system now, and it's using the same particle settings. Let's make this a single user, because when I change anything, it will also change in the rest of the text. And the problem is, as you can see, the density of the particles is different. Actually, it's not too different, but I'm having 50,000 particles in all this text, and I also have 50,000 particles in this, only this M. So that's not cool. That's not what we want. Then the density will be much higher in the M. So let's make this a single user, and now I'm able to change this number. So let's make it lower, like not too low. Maybe 20,000 will work. And yeah, I think that looks pretty similar. Okay, so now the density of particles is the same, or roughly the same. Now I'm going to go into the smoke settings. Over here we can set smoke color. So let's say we want to make the M green and the rest blue. Like this. Okay, let's try. Let's go to the first frame and press Alt-A. There we go, we have some smoke, some color in smoke. So let's render it. Try. It's still gray, which is not too big of a surprise because we didn't apply any color to the smoke. So let's go into this domain, and we can set the reflection over here, the reflection color. But when we do this, the whole smoke becomes blue, as we saw previously. Yep. Okay, so let me reset this. We have to do this in the texture. So instead of only influencing the density, I want to also influence the reflection color. And still, multiplying makes sense, because when you multiply with this pure white, it will just be the same original color. And another thing I want to do real quick is move this light and duplicate it to have a little bit more, light. Okay, so with let me go back. With the domain in the texture, the smoke material, you just want to enable reflection color. And it says reflection color. So you want to enable this, and then it should work. Okay, let's re-simulate it. And there we go, nice. Let me go back a few frames. Pretty cool, huh? Alright guys, yeah, this was a really quick tutorial on how to do some cool stuff with your logo and some smoke. I'm gonna go ahead and render an animation. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any comments, questions, whatever, hit me up below in the comments. And I'm open for feedback, anything. If you have questions, let me know. And see you next time.